Now, from Nebraska's trusted news source, this is Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 5.
Coming up tonight, the Huskers are gearing up for a hot game against Buffalo. We'll have a preview of the game and the information you need to know if you're going.
Also, the 20th anniversary of 9/11 is tomorrow. We have a special remembrance story you'll want to see.
But first, a hero's welcome home. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. People across the country gathered in Omaha to honor a fallen Marine.
That's right. Corporal Dagan Page's body returned home today, and a massive crowd showed up to pay their last respects. Our Yosef Nasser was in Omaha and has the story.
People from Omaha, the state, the country, lined the streets to pay respects to a fallen soldier, son, brother, friend. On Friday, Corporal Dagan Page returned home to be laid to rest.
His sacrifice and everything he did for this country, that's why I'm out here, that's why they're all out here. We're all out here to honor him and his memory.
We honor you. And I want to say to his mom and his dad, there's no loss like losing a child, you know? So my heart goes out to them.
Some knew Dagan personally. Others know his story. His sacrifice resonated with everyone.
He was 3 months from getting out, 3 months. And I'm so proud of him and was looking forward to him coming back.
To me, it's an honor to know that, you know, he sacrificed himself to keep this country safe. And to see everybody out here honoring him, it's amazing.
Corporal Page was one of 13 U.S. service members killed in an airport bombing in Afghanistan a month ago. Those I spoke to said they are here for Dagan and all of those who lost their lives serving this country.
All 13 of them are heroes, and everybody who has served are heroes.
Yes, this is for Dagan, but it's for all of our children and mothers and fathers and brothers that have been profoundly and undeniably and unforgettably impacted, that I'm honoring that too.
In Omaha, Yosef Nasser with Nebraska's trusted news source.
Quite a sight there, as you could tell. A very emotional moment there in Omaha. We have more information on Dagan Page's funeral on KOKNTV.com and a link to a site there if you want to help the family.
Tonight, we also have new details about a deadly crash in Lincoln.
It happened at the intersection of 40th and Highway 2 yesterday afternoon. Police say a car collided with a Jeep.
Officials say the driver of the car, 66-year-old San Ramos, passed away. The other driver, a 40-year-old man, is still in the hospital. Again, the person who passed away, I want to correct that, is the driver of the Jeep. Witnesses did report seeing the Jeep driving erratically before the crash.
All right, let's get to your weather now on this Friday. As always, people have plans to head on out this evening. How's it looking, Malcolm?
Right, we mentioned yesterday how temperatures are going to warm up, and we are warmer than where we were yesterday. So far from what I've seen, we haven't reached the 90-degree mark yet, but we are in the upper 80s. In fact, during this first forecast, we're going to see the newest hourly update. Right now, we are 6 degrees warmer than where we were this time 24 hours ago, so we are definitely warmer, and I definitely think you noticed the humidity today. I certainly noticed it. Here's a check of temperatures right now in the upper 80s in Lincoln. We're at 88 degrees and 88 in Beatrice. Upper 80s out towards the Tri-Cities. We have one spot in the 90s right now. That's Hastings, sitting at 90 degrees. The smoke in the sky helped cool things off a little bit, and the winds were very light. There's sort of a reservoir of heat just about 1,000 feet up off the ground or so, and we need those winds to stir up the atmosphere and mix some of that air down to the ground, and we just didn't have that today. So as a result, temperatures are in the upper 80s to around 90 across southeast Nebraska. Factor in the humidity, we are a couple of degrees warmer. It does feel like the low 90s, so still feels hot nevertheless. Here's a look over our Allo Communications camera. We do have that hazy look, so yes, we do have smoke in the sky. Not near the surface, in the upper atmosphere, but plenty of clear skies across southeast Nebraska. You can see some of that smoke on visible satellite imagery, and there are some high clouds off towards the north. These aren't producing rain, and I don't expect we're going to see rain for the rest of this evening. We're looking at mostly clear conditions over the next several hours, temperatures dropping into the low 80s by 8 o'clock, eventually the upper 70s by 10 o'clock. We are going to get even warmer tomorrow, however, and And that we have some important information for Husker fans because there's going to be some intense heat tomorrow.
That's right, Malcolm. Thank you very much for that. And speaking of that heat and the fans for tomorrow, you will be allowed to bring a bottle of water into the Husker game tomorrow at Memorial Stadium to try to help avoid dehydration and to combat heat exhaustion.
And of course, the talk around the Huskers this week has been the steps they're going to have to take with a tougher Buffalo team coming to town. Nebraska's coordinators have seen plenty of talent on the game tapes.
It's all new coaches, so it's a different scheme than they ran last year. But the guys executed it as good as they could possibly execute as a defense that first game. And so we got our work cut out for us from a pass rush standpoint because they know how to put pressure on the quarterback. They covered well. And
dangerous skill players, an experienced offensive line, and a really good decision maker at quarterback. And I think that we're going to have to play lights out on Saturday because this is a really good football team coming in here.
And we all know football just isn't quite complete without the whole experience, and part of that experience is the marching band.
Of course, and for 50 years, one couple has made sure they look their best, working on the uniforms for hundreds of students. By the time all is said and done, they've worked on around 350 pairs of pants, shirts, and jackets. Amazing, though, that it almost never happened. When Demetrius and Stamatia first came to America in 1969, it was a struggle to stay afloat. But with some hard work and a little luck, they were able to get jobs with the ROTC, LPD, and eventually the Husker Marching Band. It's hard work, but they say 50 years of experience helps.
So many years, and I have it more easy. I tell her, with close my eyes and I do it.
She's okay.
It's more easy. I know what I'm doing. For the measurements, for everything. It's more easy.
And of course, many hands make light work, right? So their children come in on those long days leading up to the start of the season to help out. They've been hard at work for decades, but how much longer can two people go? They both say as long as they feel fine, they're going to keep at it.
I love it. Some folks collect coins or art, and one Husker fan collects Nebraska Cornhusker football memorabilia.
That's right. Troy Doncheshki has been a Husker fan since he can remember and started collecting 20 years ago. Take a look.
My dad got me into, being a Husker fan when I was young, and he always had, stuff hanging on the walls and little stuff around the house. So I just kind of grew from that and just kind of built my own collection.
We asked Troy what he loves most about collecting.
It's about finding something that you want, getting what you want, and then finding a place for it. And then, I don't know, I just like looking at it. I can sit down here and look at it all day.
His basement is a sight to behold. So when asked what his favorite item in his collection was, it took him a little bit to come up with an answer.
I love my Neiman's because there's only 300 of those out there. And that's a really hard thing to get.
If you're thinking about getting into collecting, it can be hard to know where to start. So Troy gave some tips.
Well, you just start, you start out at garage sales or estate sales, and then Facebook came along, and then there's some sites that you can get on and look and post and buy and sell.
When asked about how much the basement would be worth, he estimated it to be at least $50,000. But how much can someone expect to pay for memorabilia if they're just getting started?
It all just depends, on the price. It all just depends. That's the fun of it. You're going to a garage sale or you're going to an estate sale and you're seeing what you can get it for, or you can get on eBay, or one of them other sites and you're bidding up against somebody else, So it just all depends on the price. Sometimes you get lucky and get a really good deal, and sometimes you gotta pay for it.
The last question we had to ask was what he loves most about going to Memorial Stadium to see a game.
It's the best. It's the best. I don't like fighting the crowds anymore, but I love going to the games. I'd rather go to a couple games a year, and just to be in that stadium is amazing.
I couldn't agree more there.
Hey, how impressive was that? That's what your house looks like, right?
Oh, yeah, no. That is a lot of memorabilia.
Lots of years of collecting. The Huskers, by the way, take on Buffalo tomorrow afternoon at 2:30 in front of another sold-out crowd. Speaking of sports, the NFL kicked off its second season during the COVID-19 pandemic, but this year fans are allowed, of course, back at games.
But Dr. Anthony Fauci says crowded games, even when outdoors, can put people at risk.
Outdoors is always better than indoors, but even when you have such a congregate setting of people close together, first you should be vaccinated. And when you do have congregate settings, particularly indoors, you should be wearing a mask.
Now, each NFL team has worked out their own health and safety protocols, while some have no requirements for fans. Last season, the NFL didn't cancel a single game during their 17-week regular season, but there were several postponements. And speaking of the recent surge of COVID cases, we talked to Lincoln's mayor about how our community is faring.
It's part of a monthly segment called Megan and the Mayor. She stressed how important it is to get the vaccine.
Vaccinated people aren't being put on ventilators as a general rule. They are not seeing vaccinated people ending up in the most extreme circumstances of this disease. And we have some great tools to prevent anyone from getting on a ventilator. Our vaccines is the very best tool. More and more people are rolling up their sleeves to get the shot, and that is making a difference. It can sometimes be a difference of life and death. And then, of course, masking. As we see this surge, as we've seen in so many other communities, masks are an additional tool that really helps slow the spread, try to blunt that curve from being too high in our community so that we can keep our kids in school, keep people out of the ICU, and get through this as a community.
In Lancaster County now, we're nearing 72% of people 16 and older who are fully vaccinated. Our risk dial still remains in the mid-orange range, and we've had 276 total deaths due to COVID-19. Again, that's here in the Lincoln and Lancaster County area. I also talked to the mayor about the mask mandate recently being put back into place and how she thinks it's affecting the community.
You know, we know this is a proven tool, so we are glad to see that some of our cases are starting to level off. We're seeing that in our data. We hope that that will develop into a trend and that we see us coming down on the other side of this surge. We're using this tool. We hope it's temporary. It's in effect through the end of the month, and we hope that we won't have to extend it. Really grateful to all of the people who are taking this seriously, and that's the vast majority of our community members.
And we'll have much more on our Megan and the Mayor segment in our newscast tonight at 6 and 10 o'clock.
And still to come on the news here tonight at 5 o'clock. Across the country, special tributes for the 20th anniversary of 9/11.
We'll take a look at some of those after the break. Tomorrow marks the 20th anniversary of the worst terror attack in our nation's history.
Commemorations have already begun across the country to honor those we lost during 9/11. ABC's Raina Roy is at the 9/11 Memorial in Lower Manhattan with more.
From Joint Base Andrews in Maryland to the so-called survivor tree at the Department of Justice.
Nothing we can do or say can replace the loss so many endured on that day.
And in New York City at the World Trade Center, America pausing to reflect on the day that's haunted our country for 20 years now.
This is at the World Trade Center, and there has been some sort of explosion.
John Feel was helping out at Ground Zero in the aftermath when a steel beam crushed him. He survived and has now dedicated his life to helping other first responders.
It's the longest day in the history of days that hasn't ended for so many people who have not had closure.
Also reflecting 2 decades later, former White House Chief of Staff Andy Card. He was the one who broke the news to President Bush as he was reading to elementary school students.
I leaned down and I whispered into his right ear, "A second plane hit the second tower. America is under attack." And then when he stepped into that holding room, the first thing he said was, "Get the FBI director on the phone."
From there, America would never be the same. 2,977 lives lost, including Florence Jones's co-workers. She worked in the South Tower. The plane hit just 1 floor above.
I realized if I had stayed up there, I would have been dead. People that I knew were 100 and plus stories up were hanging outside of the window, and I watched them. They were making a sign of the cross, holding hands, and jumping. To me, those people were heroes.
Saturday, their names will be read aloud by family members. President Biden will also be there to pay his respects. Security has been stepped up across the city for the anniversary, but officials say there is no credible threat. Raina Roy, ABC News, Lower Manhattan.
Now, your Storm Alert Team forecast with meteorologist Malcolm Byron.
Well, it's a hot night for Friday Night Lights. It's going to be humid as well. We're going to back off on temperatures just a little bit because we only got into the upper 80s today, right around 90 degrees, but it's still going to be sunny, still feeling humid. 85 degrees by 7 o'clock, dropping into the lower 80s by 8 o'clock, and maybe even the upper 70s as we get towards the end of games. But you notice mostly clear skies for the rest of this evening. No rain in the forecast. I don't think we're going to see any rain delays tonight. Mostly clear skies for the overnight hours. 65 degrees our overnight low. It's a little bit warmer than where we were this morning, and it's also going to be more humid as well with the slight southerly breeze. That'll change tomorrow afternoon as winds will really start to pick up. Here's a live look over Honda of Lincoln. Not seeing a lot of blue sky because there's all this haze from wildfire smoke in the upper atmosphere. If you're wondering if there's any air quality concerns caused by this wildfire smoke, that's not the case because it's in the upper atmosphere, not necessarily close to the surface. I think that'll be the case tomorrow as well. Right now we're in the upper 80s in Lincoln. We're at 88 degrees, 88 as well in Beatrice, 89 in Hebron, one spot already at 90 degrees in Hastings. We'll watch and see over the next hour if we can squeeze out 1 degree or 2, but I think we're going to max out for most in the upper 80s this afternoon. We're at 85 degrees in Wahoo. Looking ahead, we're going to be warmer tomorrow, upper 90s possible. The difference between today and tomorrow is I think we're going to have more winds to stir around the atmosphere, could tap into a sort of a heat reservoir, quote unquote, in the about 1,000 feet off the ground or so, and I think that could mix some warmer air down towards the surface. That's going to get close to our record high of 99 degrees set back in 1895, but then we cool off on Sunday, not dealing with any record territory heat on Sunday as our next disturbance arrives. We'll talk about that more in just a second. So as far as the feels like temperature for tomorrow, by lunchtime getting in the upper 80s to around 90 degrees. So if you're tailgating tomorrow, heading out to the Husker game, keep this in mind. Bring a water bottle with you. Memorial Stadium is going to let you bring one in. I would definitely plan on doing so because by the time we get towards around game time, upper 90s for the feels like temperature when you factor in the humidity. And I think we'll probably top out at a heat index probably in the low 100s tomorrow, maybe even upper 90s for some. It's not going to be oppressively humid tomorrow, but it'll be enough to make the air temperature feel just a couple of degrees warmer. So for the Husker game, we're looking at mid 90s to start. We're looking at upper 90s 90s throughout the middle of the game, and then as we get towards 6 o'clock, back in the middle 90s, so just another hot and humid day. Now, we mentioned that we do have a disturbance approaching. That's going to be sometime late Saturday, but for the most part, Saturday is going to be dry, 98, hot and humid, mostly clear with breezy conditions, a south-southwest wind gusting up to 25 miles per hour at times. But then as you go in towards Saturday evening, we're going to look off towards the west, and we see some storms firing up in northeast Colorado, out towards the Nebraska Panhandle, and those are going to move off towards the east. Now, I don't think Lincoln's going to see any of these on Saturday, maybe not even early Sunday morning. This is mainly going to be west of Lincoln. Lincoln's probably going to be concerned about rain as we go in towards Sunday morning, the mid-morning hours, maybe even towards the early afternoon, and even then it's not a great rain chance. If you're expecting a soaking out of this, that's just not going to be the case. In fact, I think most of you watching probably won't see a drop of rain on Sunday. Here's a look at your 10-day forecast. We have isolated storms west of Lincoln. I mean maybe even west of the Tri-Cities. We'll cool off on Sunday, an isolated storm chance on Sunday. Then again, rain chances are going to be few and far between, most people not seeing rain. Slightly warmer on Monday, keeping isolated rain chances. Another storm system will arrive sometime Tuesday. We'll have scattered storm chances there. Looks like we're starting to dry out and cooling off by the time we get to the middle part of next week.
All right, thank you very much, Malcolm. In other news now, last week, as many of you know, the strictest abortion ban in the country was implemented in Texas.
Some are wondering, what are the chances of a similar bill being introduced here in Nebraska?
Governor Ricketts has even said that he is pleased with the extreme ban and that he expects that it will inspire legislation right here in Nebraska. So we need to be clear that this fight is coming to Nebraska.
Today, Planned Parenthood Advocates of Nebraska hosted a panel to discuss reproductive rights. The law in Texas does not allow for an abortion after 6 weeks. That's when most women find out that they are pregnant. Some senators fear having a similar law here will not be in our best interest.
You know, we talk about wanting to build our economy in Nebraska. We talk about wanting to attract and retain talent. Well, I can tell you, young professionals don't want to live in a state where they can't get reproductive health care.
We contacted Governor Ricketts' office, and here's what they had to say. Quote, Nebraska is a pro-life state, and the legislature and I have successfully worked together to pass life-saving laws over the past several years. I am pleased to see the Texas law has taken effect, and we'll be watching closely as we pull together our legislative plans with pro-life leaders here in Nebraska.
Time to take a look at Wall Street, see how that went today. Wasn't good. The Dow logging its 5th straight day of losses, falling 272 points. NASDAQ was down 133. We'll be right back.
A dolphin that was lost during Hurricane Ida has finally been returned back to the ocean.
That's right. The juvenile bottlenose dolphin was trapped in inland Louisiana waters by Hurricane Ida, and multiple agencies helped rescue the dolphin in what they called Operation Free Flipper. Marine mammal experts did examine the dolphin, and they deemed it healthy before transporting it back to the ocean. So there you go.
Feel-good story to leave you on tonight. But we do need to get one more check of that weather for us, Malcolm, for football games tonight and for the Huskers game tomorrow.
Absolutely. That's the only thing people really care about tonight. So I have your Friday night lights forecast right now. We have mostly clear skies for the rest of this evening. It's looking like it's going to be a warm and muggy evening. 85 by 7 o'clock, dropping to the upper 70s by the time we get towards 9 o'clock. Here's your Husker game day forecast. Mostly clear skies. It's hot and humid. Heat index perhaps close to 100 degrees during the game. So Memorial Stadium's going to let you bring a water bottle. I would definitely plan on doing so. Practice your heat safety tomorrow, because boy, it is sure going to be toasty tomorrow afternoon.
I am a die-hard Husker fan, but I'm going to be staying in my air conditioning.
Can't blame you.
Thanks, Malcolm, and thank you all for joining us.
Have a great night. World News is next. We'll see you back here at 6.
With the Channel 8 Eyewitness News mobile app, you'll be the first to know. Get alerts about breaking news and weather, all in the palm of your hand.
Stop by Comfort Made Mattress Factory today and save up to $500 with our bigger bed, smaller price sales event. Locally owned Comfort Made Mattress Factory, 27th and Superior.